never meant to think about your stomach this much. Your body was never meant to be the loudest thing in your life. This is as it should be. I'm Ksenia, a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, and I spent years being told my own symptoms were normal before I became the practitioner I couldn't find. Each week, we get into how the body's actually meant to work and how to get yours there. Not symptom management, not another protocol you're gonna quit in 3 weeks. The real picture of how your gut, your energy, your hormones, and your nervous system are supposed to function, and what's quietly keeping yours from getting there. Because when your body works the way it should, it goes quiet and you get your life back. So let's get into it. Hi, Beth, and welcome to As It Should Be podcast. Our topic is functional health, women's health, and in general, health as it should be. So before we jump into all the fantastic conversation streams that we will have on those topics today, I'd love for you to tell us more about your path and your background. You've spent 35 years as a mechanical engineer before becoming a health practitioner. So I'd love to hear more on that. And then on the fascinating topic of bioresonance, because I'm sure a lot of the listeners are not familiar with that. And you have the very cool perspective of the health perspective and the mechanical engineering perspective on that. So I'll let you take the mic and tell us a bit more about you and what you do.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here. I love having this conversation about your body, because your body is always trying to tell you something. And I didn't realize that most people are disconnected from their bodies. They don't have any idea what's happening. They might feel something and ignore it, or feel something and try to suppress it in some form or another. But I'm not built that way. And I've always been a little outside the box in thinking about my own body. And so when something didn't feel right, I always tried to figure it out. And when I didn't like the answers I got, I just kept searching. And that extended to when I was raising my family. And I chose homeopathy, and I chose naturopathic practices and principles. And that's a bit unusual where I am in New York, in the United States. That is typically not the standard way. In conjunction with being a mechanical engineer, you should know that mechanical engineers are your problem solvers. We are your hands-on people who want to make the world better by building something that you can tangibly see and just solving problems. So that's what I did for 35 years. It is a fundamental part of who I am, is that when I see a problem, I want to fix it. And I want to build something to do it. It's not theoretical for me. It's not like, well, let's just talk about it and maybe it'll work itself out. There's like, oh, I want to find out what's the issue and how can we resolve it. And I didn't realize it, but I took that approach to my health as well, and taking care of my family as well. And soon my family and friends were coming to me, asking me questions about what was going on. And I didn't really have a good method to consistently understand people outside of my own body until I was introduced to digital muscle testing. And digital muscle testing is like doing regular muscle testing, but remotely. And I also use lab-grade equipment and computer software, which, by the way, happens to work perfectly with the way I think about things and all of the data. But if you are in person with someone, they can press on your arm or do other modalities for applied kinesiology, and to see what is out of balance in your body and what might support you. And that's a great practice if you can find someone in your town who does that. It's just limited by what that practitioner knows, whether that practitioner has any bias about what they might want to help you with. And just a limit of time and how many questions you can ask and how deep you can really go. So that's a great way to get introduced to it. You can go online and learn how to do muscle testing yourself. And basically it's just, you pull forward and open up when it's a yes for you, and you get weak and contract or there's different ways you could pull away, or there's just, you could self-muscle test and you could know something's not right for you. But in the end, you start knowing it in yourself. And in the US, it's called bioenergetic testing. In Europe, it's bioresonance. But when I found this system, I found it's the most customizable version there is, which is perfect for me. So I have designed tests and questions, series of questions based on everything I know, so that I can take my background as I'm also a homeopath and Reiki master teacher. So I can take those things and integrate it with it so that I can find out when you are having a symptom or something you don't feel right, either emotionally or physically, what is the root of that? And what do you need to be in balance? Some of the things you might need might be nutritional support, or you might need help clearing environmental toxins, metals. There's just sometimes metabolic processes that get stuck and aren't working well anymore. Is there stagnation in your organs, and what is the best way to clear them and in what order? There's emotional support that you might need for how you're feeling right now, as well as trapped emotions from long ago and more. And so all of these things are combined into my method of doing bioresonance.
That's fantastic. And for those listeners who might think, well, that sounds a little woo, as a mechanical engineer, what do you see in the human body that a lot of us don't, from your perspective?
We are electrical, and our whole body is a battery and runs on electricity. Even the regular medical establishment knows this, because if you get an EKG, they put sensors on your heart and they measure the electrical activity of your heart. The EEG is for measuring the electrical activity in your brain. Our fascia conducts electricity when it is compressed. It's piezoelectric. And the meridian systems that were established through traditional Chinese medicine thousands and thousands of years ago, they're validated now. They really do exist. Those pathways of energy or electricity are moving through us. And so there is data. We can go back to the beginning of bioenergetic testing or bioresonance to the 1940s. So Dr. Reinhold Voll is a German physician from the 1940s, and he was a traditional physician, and he was not satisfied with the results he was getting. So he started to study traditional Chinese medicine, and he was fascinated by the meridians. And he decided to measure the electricity of certain points on those meridians. And he could detect where there was a blockage and where there wasn't a blockage, where everything, the energy was running well. He could detect that and measure that electrical current. And then he could also make an adjustment or try a food or a supplement and see the change in his patients' bodies and measure that. So that was the 1940s. Come up, 80, 90 years later, and we have all these advances in electrical engineering, digital technology, and modern physics. And so now we have the equipment that I use today, which is still checking in. It's checking in with your electrical body. So you have an electrical system. You have a whole field around you that is your biofield, which is measurable and detected. In fact, you can measure the biofield of the heart, which is the biggest field emitter. That your heart goes out further around you than anything else. It's more than your brain. It's your heart. And you can measure that now. And when I was early beginning student of engineering, one of the first classes that all engineering students take is electricity and magnetism. It's really the same thing, whether it's the electricity that's powering our computers right now and that's turning the lights on in our homes, or it's the electricity in your bodies. There's always electricity and magnetism, and we can measure it. We can find out things. And so I can send basically like a text message to your body and get a response and record it. And it might sound unusual, but we really are all connected. There's ether in between us. This isn't just nothingness in between air. We really are all connected. And I think that for those who might think it is unusual or woo-woo, it's something that you know and feel in your heart when you connect with your loved one across the world, and you feel that, and you know that someone needs you, or you get a sense that I need to reach out and call someone. You're really connected. You'll just need to get more validation yourself.
Yeah, I think one thing that a perspective shift that a lot of people don't realize with the EEG is they're not drilling into your head, right? They're just putting electrodes outside your head, meaning that though that electricity, those magnetic waves are reaching out from your head. So if you ever have like that expression of, if your thoughts can reach out to someone, they literally do reach out of your head. Otherwise, an EEG wouldn't work, right? We wouldn't be able to read something outside of the head if it was only inside. And I think that's something that we don't think too much about, is how that technology works. And for you, of course, because of your background, you understand how it works, so it might seem obvious. But for a lot of people, they're like, oh yeah, wait a minute. How are they reading electrical signals of the brain completely outside of the brain? They're not touching the brain. They're not connected to it in any way. They're completely outside of it. And they're still able to read electric and magnetic fields of the brain. So just to show that this exists beyond sort of alternative practitioners or like ourselves, this is in every hospital. This is an accepted practice in Western medicine, right? And can you tell us a little bit about how it works? Because you said you can read the electrical signals, but how do you know which one of them is good and which one of them is bad? How can you read them actually, or interpret them rather?
So I use the Quest 4 system, and it has software. There's many different types of bioresonance, bioenergetic technology. I happen to like this. It really works well for me. It is very comprehensive and, like I said, customizable. That's very important to me, that I can put everything I know into it. And so there is electronics and there is protocol systems in there that I am not privy to. That is protected information. So I honestly can't tell you exactly how it works to the degree, but in general how it works, this is it. That once I know where you are in the world, I know your name, your birthday, maybe your address. Honestly, it's like, how would the universe find you? That is the information I need. And then that's kind of like me saying, I got your phone number, so I'm going to send you a text message. And so it's very logical, even in person. Applied kinesiology or muscle testing it's very logical. If we were in person, the practitioner would touch your head and like, oh, how's my pineal gland? How's my hypothalamus? How's my thyroid? How's my parathyroid? How's my heart? And they would see, and if it would be either yes or no. And so digitally, I ask questions. And I go through 38 organs and systems in your body. And then after each one of those, I say, well, is it in balance or is it out of balance? Only two choices. And if it comes back it comes back with an electrical frequency that's very, very small. But there's a range of this is out of balance and this is in balance. So once that parameter is set, then everything that's out of balance, I say, well, what would it take for it to be in balance? Do you need a vitamin? Yes or no? Yes, you do need some vitamins. Okay, let's go through all of them. Let's go through vitamin A, all the different B vitamins. Let's go through every single one. How about minerals? A mineral would help balance. Are you out of balance and you need more boron or copper or zinc? And all of the responses, the electrical frequencies are translated into homeopathic dilutions. And remember I said that I'm also a homeopath. That's how I take care of myself and my family, and I have for 25 years. I can tell whether you just need the energetic form or whether your body is depleted. You really do need more zinc. You need to eat some foods with zinc or maybe even take a supplement. I prefer food first, but some things it's hard to get a lot from food if you're really depleted. So that is how I'm reading the data coming back in. And the same for emotions. Sometimes there might be the energetic signature of a color or a Bach flower essence or an essential oil that is going to help you with your emotional state.
And when you said, I ask, is it this, is it that with the organ? I mean, yes or no questions. You're asking this to the software or to the client?
Well, I program these questions, so then they're sent electrically, but then I'm asking you, but I'm doing this asynchronously and remotely. So we're not even on a call because it takes some time. And and that message goes to your innate intelligence. So it's going to the part of you that knows how to breathe and digest your food and move your blood cells.
So why do you think the wellness world or the perception of people in general of energy healing can sometimes get a reaction where people roll their eyes or find it difficult to believe, while we're seeing that in neuroscience and bioelectric medicine, these core premises are used every day?
I think that in any population, there are early adopters. There are people who catch on, and then there are people who are laggards, and they take their time. And it depends on the circles of people you operate in. And right now, I can tell you that meditation is well studied and has wonderful effects for all kinds of. It's been well studied. There's so many published research on that. The same with, for example, yoga. Yoga, when people do that, their blood pressure decreases. They're not just getting more flexible. The studies are not measuring flexibility or losing weight. They're measuring other biomarkers. So they're tapping into the energetics of those practices. The breathing, diaphragmatic breathing. Why would diaphragmatic breathing work? Just by moving your diaphragm up and down? Really? That's all we need to do? Well, I'm sure someone could invent a machine that would stimulate the diaphragm to pretend it was moving. But no, it's the energetics of it. And people don't want to think about that. But gosh, when you take in life force energy through your lungs and you expand your belly and you relax, that's energy as well. And you are calming your nervous system. So there's so much nervous system talk these days. It's also moving and calming our energy.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think changes for a person when they stop thinking of their body just as matter and start thinking of it as energy and matter at the same time?
I think this might be a little esoteric, but if you believe in a creator higher than you cannot be you'd have to be in wonder of the miraculous body that we have. If you are disconnected from a power higher than yourself, of any religion, of any spirituality, of any way you want to think of it, and you're disconnected from that, and you think that we just randomly are here and by random chance you happen to be created and there's no purpose to your life, and that we're just all going to live our lives and then die and then nothing happens and it's all for nothing. If you have a fatalistic view, which is very extreme, I really don't know anyone who feels that way, then you might not really care that your body is energy. But if you even have one spark of like, yeah, I know I'm here for a purpose. I know that I don't understand it, but somehow I was created and I'm in this world. I have a mission. I'm here to create impact, even if it's just like a very tiny spark. Then you know that there is beauty in this system and there's energy, there is electricity, and that there's connection between many people. And we don't have to go any further than that. Like, I'm not talking about like expounding and layering on beliefs of spirituality or religion, but cannot deny the beauty of the heart, the beauty of your response system, the ability to feel joy. Like, oh my gosh, if you just take for a moment and just like the last time you hugged a child or a puppy and you were just in awe, like, you know that there's something else going on besides biochemical reactions between neurotransmitters and muscle cells. And yeah, you have something else within you that is remarkable. And if you dare to go there, you might feel like, I don't understand this. But that's okay. You don't have to. You could just be in awe and wonder. And then that's a step closer to knowing that these things can help you if you want them to.
Yeah, I think that's such a key aspect that you said at the end there, is if you want them to. I think a lot of people might feel a bit curious and feel called to explore energetics more, but then suppress that with their lizard brain of, well, no, this can't be right. I have to stay grounded in the real world. And they almost don't let themselves dream like they did when they were children, in a way.
Yeah, but what is the real world?
Yeah.
What is the real world? I would say that the world that we create through how we think and our perceptions is much more real than what we've been taught. What our the values, we are all living under, what the people in our family think, what the people in our country think, what the people in our profession think. Are those yours? Have you vetted them? Do you really? And if they aren't serving you, you get to choose again. But if they are serving you, then great. But when it's time, you're like, you know what? I think I'm ready to choose something else. You can always make a new decision.
Yeah. And even from like a very scientific point of view, because I always like to offer that up for the people, for the skeptics and for the people who ask questions, and rightfully so. But, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you'll probably know this better as an engineer, but our eyesight only allows us to perceive something like 2% or 3% of the spectrum, right? So how reliable is what we see and perceive with our physical body? We only see a small fraction of it. And maybe it's the energetic aspect of our body that's actually able to perceive more if we let it, if we want to.
That is right. And our eyes have to do, our eyes are brain tissue. These are, it's the brain pushing out there. And our eyes are making sense of two things and manipulating it so that we have one coherent image.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. What is the real world? What is actually out there if no two people on the planet are seeing the exact same thing? So actually the world is what you make it, because it's also very unique what you see, right? If I understand correctly as well, how the human body works is that we all see the world slightly differently depending on our genetics, depending on our biases, depending on our brain's processing capacity of what it's able to perceive through its senses. So as objective as the real world sounds, it's actually very subjective.
It is. And then that comes back to the traditional approach to medicine is to look at lagging indicators, to take some blood. So after things have happened in your body and chemical reactions have happened, sample your blood, look at it, that's a whole nother thing in itself of how it is actually analyzed. But then it's to categorize it. Okay, so based on whether you're a man or a woman and how old you are, for this number, for this material, is it good or bad? What range is it in? Nothing of that is specific to you. You know, maybe you need more. And also it's a lagging indicator. So there's more that can be done upstream. So bioenergetic testing, bioresonance is looking at it upstream, like, oh, well, this is what's out of balance and what you're going to need to shift your metabolics so that you can feel better. And there's emotions and as well as physical things happening. And you know, we're not in the traditional sense. Sometimes we just get too many specialists. We've got one specialist looking at our arm. We got another specialist looking at our nose. We got another specialist for our emotions and our brain. So we're talking or writing with one of them. We're getting X-rays and imaging. We're getting all kinds of testing for the ear, nose, throat, digestion. And really, you're one body. And I'll tell you, they are all connected. All of it. I mean, even if you have an accident and you break your arm, well, maybe that's not directly connected to your digestive system. But after you break your arm, your digestive system is definitely going to feel that and is going to say, hey, I'm really stressed out here. This is a lot of pain. And there is a connection. So any methodology that you have that looks at your body as a whole is, to me, the right place to go to. But I have good friends who are medical doctors, and they do their jobs very well. If you have an emergency, if you need surgery, if you just want to find out more information about something, that is so great. There are no wrong paths to healing, but you might want to include thinking about your body holistically, thinking about how your emotions impact how your menstrual cycle is, thinking about how your emotions impact your digestion. My clients who tell me, oh, I get bloating after I eat. Well, let's talk about how do you eat? Let's talk about what's happening. There's so many things that are connected. And this technique just seeks to bring it all together. And when I work with my clients one-on-one, those are the things. There's never just, we did this testing, you get your homeopathic remedy, that's it, goodbye. Because that's just like a green allopathy. That's just another substitute for me giving you something. And really, it's always your body that's doing the healing. And so you might need other things. You might need to explore some movement practices, some lymph practices, some castor oil, there's so many things that you can do to support your body that are necessary actions to take. And when you have people on your health team who are looking at all of that, you'll get a much better outcome and faster too. I'm sure that's been your experience as well. You couldn't just do one thing. You had to do many things together.
Yeah, that's so true. And I'm so glad you touched on that, because I think because it's the way that we've gotten used to looking at healing in our body, is that something's wrong, you take something to suppress the wrong and you move on. That when people reach out to me looking for holistic healing, looking for functional medicine, they have initially an incorrect understanding of functional medicine, thinking it's going to be like allopathic medicine, but with a natural substance or with a supplement or with a herb. And I have to almost correct that, saying that supplements do have a place, herbs do have a place, but they're not the sole lever. We're actually going to be looking at the foundations of the body first and foremost. And they actually usually take care of 90% of the problem. And then the supplements and the herbs, homeopathy, they're tweaks, they're just enhancers and optimizers, ways to get maybe a faster result or to be used as a crutch while the body balances itself out and catches up to what we're trying to do. So it's a very different approach to healing overall, exactly like you said. It's not about healing with more natural substances. It's about balancing the body without relying on substances as the only way to do it. And it's when we haven't been exposed to that type of approach, it's a bit of a reframe that has to happen in the brain, because we just kind of are used to going to the doctor, getting a prescription, taking that for 2 weeks, and being all better. And real healing takes more work. So it's definitely something that I really hope more and more people learn about and get exposed to, because it's actually also, once you learn it, it's so much more fruitful to apply, because you get much bigger results from it and much more long-term results from it. And actually, in terms of your personal investment that you're doing less, because it's kind of allowing your body to do more with less. It's just doing the right things in the right sequence and not having to take, exercise 7 days a week, take 20,000 supplements, take some special powders. It's not all that. It's actually so much simpler than that. And once you learn the foundations, you actually get so much more return on your time, energy, effort invested.
Mm-hmm.
And you spoke about meridians a little bit earlier. So just to go back to that, for those who aren't familiar with TCM, and with the concept of meridians, what are they? If you can tell us a bit more.
So the traditional Chinese medicine system of meridians governs how electricity governs how things run in the body. And they flow in various positions. And I believe there are 13 of them, but like, for example, there's the central meridian, and there's ones that go up the front, there's ones that go around the back, there's ones that go from the chest all the way out your arm, down your fingertips. But basically they cover all of your fingertips, all of your toes, they go through all of the major points of your body. And they have names to them, and sometimes they go through more than one organ, but they govern how energy is running through your body. And when they get blocked, when it's like a little highway or a river, and when it gets blocked and energy doesn't flow, everything along that meridian is going to suffer. And so if it goes through your stomach, it's going to impact your stomach. And so that is why if you go to an acupuncturist, they can put needles in your lower legs and in your hands and still affect your internal organs. Or it's also mapped to your ears. So they can put, they map to points in the ear. Actually, your teeth map to all of the meridian points. So hands, feet, ears, teeth, your colon is a reflex. You can't get needles directly into your colon, but the colon is a reflex for the meridians. And so it reinforces that everything is connected, and why when you feel that you have ringing in your ears, or there's just something that is bothering with your ear, there's congestion, it feels blocked, there is likely the root cause is your kidneys. Your kidneys and your ears are connected. When you're getting eye floaters and your eyes are just watery and they're just not, there's just some irritation with your eyes all the time, and you sense that they're just worsening, maybe cataracts, that is all connected to your liver. So you can have cataract surgery, you can take eye drops, but you are just treating the surface. You are not treating the cause, because they are connected by a meridian. And really, it's your liver that needs support. And it's just showing up in different ways. There's so many other connection points. But one is when you go to the dentist, and if you have a tooth that is having a cavitation or decay of some kind, if you look at a map of your teeth and what they correspond to, there may be a correlation between that tooth and another part of your body. And you'll say, yes, that part of me has been weak. And it's very interesting. So when you start looking at your body as interconnected, not as a Lego set, not as just little building blocks that are all just fastened together, then you know that we are connected by electricity. And meridians are one way to illustrate that very clearly.
Yeah. And well, you mentioned as well that we're now able to actually map them. So these were mapped thousands of years ago, but what does modern science actually show and say now to confirm that this was always anatomical, not conceptual?
Well, you can, just like when I was talking about the German physician from the 1940s, Dr. Reinhold Wohl, he could put a probe and measure the electricity. So he could measure the electricity of a meridian. They can still do this today. So there's been studies that whether you are on the meridian or off the meridian, there's less electricity. On the meridian, there's more electricity. Now, these are very, very small levels of current, but they can be mapped. So the reason why you can activate the meridians in certain, either with pressure with your thumbs or with needles, is because that electricity has been documented to be running through there more so than just any other random spot on your body. But there are multiple meridians, and they do transverse the whole body. So they've been mapped and verified to have there. But yet it's still confusing, because you would think, there's nothing physical there. There's not like, okay, we have this main artery or vein or fascia that is specifically going in this. No, it doesn't. It goes through muscle and tissue and organs. So that's confusing for science. That's confusing for the medical system, because how can that work? It's going through different parts of your body, but it has been shown to have electricity going through it.
Yeah. And how do meridians connect organs and emotions?
So this is even captured in our culture. Maybe not popular culture, maybe culture from our grandparents. But anger in traditional Chinese medicine is stored in the liver. And there's the gallbladder that is right next to the liver. And so the gallbladder and the liver work closely together to release bile, to digest fats. And if you've ever heard the phrase, really got their gall up, or the word gall, like she had so much, that's anger. And so there's a phrase that's not in very common use and probably doesn't make much it probably sounds different in different languages, but there's this phrase of gall, and that is being angry. That is connected to the liver and gallbladder. Fear is with the kidneys. And when you are fearful, that affects the whole urinary system. So your kidneys, your bladder, and that is really something that you're afraid of something. It could be a deep-seated fear. You might not even consciously address it. It's not like, oh, I'm standing and I'm afraid of heights because I'm at the edge of a cliff and I'm afraid of heights and now I know this. No, it could just be something more subtle. And it's so helpful to be able to work through that in any modality to not have that fear, because you don't want weak kidneys. Kidneys are the seat of so much life force. Mm-hmm. And worry is with the spleen, and the spleen makes red blood cells. Red blood cells are your life force. They are moving around your blood, that when you are worried and they are not doing a good job, that affects your whole being. You just feel heavier and not as energetic. So spleen and worry go together. Lungs hold grief. That's it. I'll just end with that one. Yeah, lungs hold grief. And you know that when you are sobbing and you're sad, you feel it right in your chest.
Mm. And so just the way you're talking about, it's as if those emotions can get trapped in those organs and trapped in the body. So can you tell us a bit more about what trapped emotions are and how they can affect the health of these organs? How can they affect us physiologically?
We all have areas of weakness in our body, and some of us know why, some of us don't know why. But if you always have a neck and your muscles are always tight, first place, make sure that your spine is aligned. Maybe you need a chiropractor, osteopath, or somebody, craniosacral, somebody to make sure that everything isn't aligned. But if the muscles are still always getting tight, sometimes you might notice that it's when you think of somebody or some situation, your whole body tenses. So that's an example of that emotion is just lingering, and it goes right here. Many people have had the experience of being nervous and feeling their stomach just be very unsettled and feel like butterflies, or just feel really uncomfortable. When you're scared, there's the expression of feeling a rock in your stomach, like just feeling heavy, like just, oh, something is bad. And it just settles deep into your belly. So those can be temporary because it's just based on the situation, and you feel those things and then they go away. Other times, there could be something from when you were a child, or an experience from that maybe you were an adult, but you just didn't have time to process. And so it lingers. And so I see that in people when every winter their chest is weak and they get a bronchitis or a cough, like they're just not able to clear their lungs, that there's just something that is just lingering. And so they're more susceptible. We all know people who are more susceptible to just lung issues. And that's both physical and it's emotional. They go together. So there's physical things you can do to fix that and help that. And then there's also emotion. Like what is being carried there? Are you homesick? Do you miss your home country? Are you grieving something, either part of your life or a person or a pet? And have you finished processing that? And I don't need to know the answers to that. I ask your body, what would you need support? And maybe you need homeopathic ignatia. Maybe you need a Bach flower essence that is soothing specifically to you. That will help. Some people, it's their back, and they suddenly have a weak back and it hurts, and so then they are unable to move around very freely. So there's a physical aspect to it, but then there's also some stressor that gets activated and there's a weak spot. One of my clients, it was her wrist. Her wrist was fine, fine, fine. And then all of a sudden it was in pain. And she would go and there was no issues. She did all the physical therapy. They said, we can't see anything wrong with it. And there was just, that's where she was holding these emotions and this stress. It was right there.
Can you talk to us a little bit about the vagus nerve and fascia and the nervous system and how those all work together?
Great. Yeah, they do all work together. So your fascia is the part of your body that holds everything together. It's piezoelectric, meaning when it compresses, it creates electricity. So that's part of your electrical communication system. So fascia, nervous system, and vagus nerve. So vagus nerve is a real nerve. It has been mapped. You can find it. It is an anatomical structure, and it is called wandering nerve. And it goes from the top of from your head all the way down through your belly. And it's affected by, and you can affect it by your throat and breathing and digestion. And so fascia and the vagus nerve are two things that can affect your nervous system. So the nervous system is your overall regulation, and there's many techniques and there's many nerve endings everywhere. But focusing on fascia and the vagus nerve. For fascia, that's why moving your body is so important. It's so important and why yoga has great benefits. When you are stretching out in different angles, you stretch that fascia and that tissue. When you are just doing things up and down, forward and back, you just run and you're just in one plane, you're not getting to stretch the rest of your body. So it's good to do all of the activities that you like to do, but then to also make sure to move your body in some basic calisthenic type stretching. You might not like yoga, that's fine, but you can sit on the floor, you can stand up and touch your toes, you can move in different ways, but it's so important to keep that fascia limber and keep it moving. And when you're hydrated, that contributes to it. The vagus nerve is a very specific nerve, and when that is working well, you feel great. So sometimes chronic digestive issues are because your vagus nerve is really being triggered and it's stressed out. Sometimes breathing, you just can't catch your breath. You are just not breathing fully. It's the vagus nerve. Swallowing and speaking, when you feel like your voice is tight and constricted. Yes, there's vocal work, there's relaxation, there's opening up this area, but it's also the vagus nerve that can be making things tight there. So you can hum, you can laugh, you can breathe deep, you can eat more slowly. So there's different ways very simple ways to calm the vagus nerve, to signal safety so that it doesn't have to be in panic mode, causing digestive upset or shallow breathing or hyperventilation or constricted throat and all the other things that it affects.
And why is that so important? Why is it important to signal safety? And why is the nervous system even that important?
Oh my goodness, this world is so crazy. We all need a little bit more safety. You wake up in the morning and you're just thinking of all the things. Some people are just going crazy. I know I am. I woke up this morning and thought, great, I get to do all these things today. Oh my goodness, how am I going to fit it all in? And that's not getting up and being into that fight or flight, like getting up into like, all right, gotta hurry up and take action. Even if it's an excited action about, I'm really excited to do these things, there's that stress. And over time, you end up not digesting your food well. You end up getting higher cortisol levels. And so then that leads to more weight gain because you're just always in a little bit of a panic. So it's so important to signal safety, especially when you're eating, especially before you go to bed, so that your body can do its job right. We're not supposed to be in complete relaxed mode all the time. Stress is okay, but it's being able to come back from high stress, especially during eating, especially before bed, so that our body does digestion well and it does recovery well at night.
And we talked about stored emotions and unprocessed emotions that can get stuck in the body, or stored rather. But what I forgot to ask you is, how does that actually affect the body? Like, why do we care about the body storing these emotions, and why do we want to release them?
Because it affects your physical body, because we're the same. The emotions affect the physical. So everything from slouching forward, like I am just sad, you start leaning forward and your shoulders slump forward, your whole posture changes. You can see someone who is stuck. And so those old things start affecting your body over time in a bigger and bigger way. And really, if you've been dealing with a health challenge for any period of time, many months, years, there's emotions that are tied up in there. And part of your healing that's going to make it permanent and last, to really put it in the past, is to look at those trapped emotions. That's why it's so important, is to find out. Most of my clients can tell me, I started feeling this way after this thing happened, after someone died, after they moved, after a really hard period. There is something about that. And so in any method you want, as part of your healing, you need to go back and address that. Forgive yourself, grieve, go back. You can do that yourself with journaling. You can use EFT tapping. You can work with a therapist and talk about it. Anything you want to do is important, especially if you know there's a reason why I feel this way. Because you're right. There is something. So sometimes for some people, it's not very obvious. So maybe there is really no impact. There is nothing that is unprocessed. But there's a phrase, metabolizing your stress. So these events from the past, you want to metabolize them so that they no longer linger in your body and get stuck and cause physical issues. But I would say it's nothing to go searching for. If you feel great, there's no need to go on a treasure hunt, going to look for bad things to go find. Believe me, if something happens, you will remember and you will say, oh, I remember that issue. And if it still has a lot of charge, go do some work around it of any kind that you like.
Yeah, and is there a difference, because you mentioned talk therapy and all these different modalities. Do you think there's a difference between processing an emotion mentally and then clearing it physically, somatically?
I think somatic-based practices work better. It's very easy to keep it logical and neck up and just talk about it. It's important to feel it in your body and be honest with yourself, like, wow, I'm really feeling this here. And to be quite honest, it's a little harder. It's a little harder to like sink into like, oh, I feel that feeling. It feels like burning fire right here in my chest. And then do your technique or work with a practitioner until you don't feel it there anymore. If you just say in my head, yes, I feel this sensation, it feels, and you don't go into what it feels like, and you said, and this is what I was thinking at the time, and this is what I was feeling at the time, and okay, because you can trick yourself. You can say logically that I'm a grown-up now. I shouldn't let that bother me. And you can dismiss it much more easily. But when you are feeling it in your body and you are doing some practice to let it go on its way and not be captured there anymore, then that will last. That is something that lasts. So EFT tapping has a practice where you feel it in your body and then you tap on certain points, meridian points, actually. There's many, many other ways. I I highly suggest feeling it in your body in a somatic way.
Yeah, and if we can just stay on that for a second longer, because one thing I get from a lot of people when I recommend somatic practices is they're like, yeah, well, I keep hearing about somatic practices, but I don't actually understand what the hell that means. So what are somatic practices? What does that mean? What does that look like in practice?
Soma is your body. Soma is your body. So even the word is like, I don't even know, what is a somatic practitioner? What is somatic? It means feeling it in your body. The one that's been studied the best and has real published outcomes is EFT tapping. And so that is where there's tapping on the side of your hand with a setup statement and then around different parts. And as you're doing that, you're saying out loud, you can do this with a practitioner or by yourself. And then you stop and you notice, where do I feel it? What is the scale? How does it feel in my body? So that's one somatic practice I like. There are many others. It depends on whether you want to do it by yourself or with someone who can help you. There's a technique called Hana somatics that is moving the fascia, moving the stuck patterns of your body in a very physical way, very gentle. And in doing so, there is the ability to, just like with massage, to remove, to have old emotions come up. So body work can get there if you're open to it. But that doesn't work for some people. A massage is simply, oh, that feels nice on my skin. And they're not thinking about anything that they want to release. So it's best, if you aren't familiar with anything, to try a different practitioner who focuses specifically on that. Do you have one that you recommend? Do you like somatic practice?
I do. I love it, and I'm trying to normalize it more for my clients. I like EFT tapping. I discovered it for the easiest one for the listeners, for you to get into it without sort of having to find anything. You can do it from home with the book, The Tapping Solution by Nick Ortner. It's a great intro book. And for those of you who are still skeptical, he actually talks a lot at the beginning about the ways that we've been able to physically demonstrate, as in from a scientific perspective, the effects that EFT has. It's not just a placebo. There are measurable positive effects. And it's so easy because you can sit down on your couch and do it for 10 minutes a day. It's the least, I find, barrier to entry in terms of somatic practices, because you need no equipment, you need nothing, you just need 5-10 minutes by yourself, and you can start seeing the results from it very quickly. So that's the one I usually recommend to everyone, especially the busy, high-achieving women I work with who don't really have this space to add like a new 30-40-minute practice to the day. EFT is 5 minutes. It's very easy. You can do it at your desk in the office to relax after a stressful meeting. You can do it in your car if you're parked, of course. You can just squeeze it into so many different aspects of your day that I find that one to be the easiest one to fit in. And then this kind of leads me well into the closing question I wanted to ask you. What would you say to the woman who has done all the physical things? She's done the labs, she's worked on her movement, nutrition, rest, but she hasn't dabbled or opened her mind to emotional and mental work yet? What would you say to her from your experience and practice?
Well, with that setup for that type of person, I would say that is the opening. That is the opening that she needs to walk through. There is a doorway that says true health is in mind, body, and spirit. You need to look at your emotions too. I remember going to a small juice bar next to the yoga studio, and there would be a woman who came in, and she was so fit. She's tall, she was tan. She did the yoga series at the class, like she was the best one there. She could do everything. She was a triathlete, and she would march right up and get her green juice and guzzle it down. And she was so angry, so angry. She was mad that she was running late. She was mad that something else was happening. And she was just barking at the juice person making the juice. She was in a rush. She looked like the picture of beauty, of health. She looked amazing. But as soon as you could see like the fire in her eyes, and this wasn't just one time, it was consistently. And for her to have true health, she would need to look at her emotions. And then I didn't see her for a while. Then she came back to a yoga class, and I saw that she just talked about she had a big injury. And her body had said, that's it, you need to rest and recover. And she was working through that, and she had to find some humbleness. And I only can hope that she decided to work through that anger or whatever that stress was. It's, yes, you can do health, you can perform it well. But if you don't feel it, what does it matter? So if you're doing all those things and you feel great, great. This what is being said here doesn't exactly apply to you. But if something still feels off, I guarantee that you know it somewhere deep inside of you. And now it's worth to explore that. It would be a wonderful place for your next step.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for that, Beth. Where can people go to find you?
You should go to my website. It's yourhealthwithbeth.com. You can take my free quiz. You can learn more about what I do. And if anything resonated with you, be open to asking questions, because your body wants to heal. Just need to ask, listen, and take action.
Absolutely. That's beautiful. I mean, I'll make sure to add all your information in the show notes so that if you're listening and this is resonating with you and you want to explore this further, you can reach out to Beth and at least keep your mind open, just like she said. Thank you so much for this conversation, Beth. It's been
Thank
incredible.
you.